hello everyone, and welcome to MMA Island. I'm Zach Harkness, and today I'm joined by UFC Bantamweight Trevin 5-Star Jones. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
How's it going, my man? I'm good. I'm great.
I'm doing good, and I'm glad you're doing well. And let's just go right into the first question. So my first question would have to be about your expedited UFC debut, as you got the call to fight in the promotion with only 36 hours notice. So what safety procedures did the UFC put you through in this very short turnaround?
Well, as I made the weight, of course, the doctors and stuff checked up on me if I was still functioning properly. They did, and I was, so I was able to still fight. But at the end of the day, it was a very hard weight cut. 16, 17 pounds in a day and a half notice. Pretty tough on anyone. I can only imagine. So, but I felt the UFC. It was the only way I was going to get into the UFC. They're the best promotion in the world, and they want to test their athletes to the fullest. And that was just a big test, and I'm happy to pass the test.
Yeah. Speaking of tests, how many COVID tests did they have you go through within this 36-hour period? Because I know they like to have 3 that they do in like the whole weeks leading up to the event, but how many did they have you take?
I did 3 tests. 3 tests and temperature checks at the end. So I did 3 tests.
3 tests in 36 hours, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And you mentioned something about the weight cut. Now, this fight was at 140-pound catch weight. Now, this is understandable as you only had 36 hours to cut weight. Now, given that the amount of time that you had, can you detail your weight cutting process, how you were able to do it, and how different and strenuous it was compared to if you had a full camp and cutting process?
Well, if I had a full camp, I would have been walking around. Of course, I can stay heavy in a full camp, but it has to be further out. As it gets closer, my body gets more lean, and everything is done properly. With this fight in particular, I was training and everything, but I wasn't expected to cut weight on 2 days' notice. I was expected a week. I was expected 10 days, but 2 days was all I was given, and I jumped on opportunity. And yes, it was very hard. Right when I got the call Wednesday night, I put on the plastic. I put on the sweet sweat. I ran the treadmill for about 2 hours. Right when I got the call, I went home. I rested. I hydrated very little. Then I went back to the gym about 3 hours later. Then I ran the treadmill again for about an hour and a half. And that was the end of the first day. So we're going into 24 hours as I wake up on Thursday. Then on Thursday, of course, there was no sign of having drink anytime soon, no water. It was time to go into the jungle, as we call it. You go into the jungle, and you don't come out of the jungle until you made the weight, and that's what it's like. I get motivated from things like people that I've seen exactly in the real jungle, whether it's a family member, kids, or something, and they got stranded, and they survive days without food, without water. So we call it going into the trenches. I've been in the trenches before, and it was good that I've been in the trenches before. But with the full camp, the weight cut will be weighed a lot more properly. I have things that I do. I have weight that I know that I need to be under coming into fight week. So the weight cut is exactly how I expected. But this one, there was no time to water overload or anything like that. It was straight take off what you got and keep working. And it was just a test. It was a very big test that the UFC wanted to put me through versus a tough opponent. They said, kid, if you want to be here, you got to pass this test. And like I said, I'm happy to have made the weight, first of all, and also get the win.
So you mentioned that you had 2 days to cut weight, and you did all this work on the first day. So how much did you weigh going into the second day of your weight cut? Like, how much did you drop on that first day?
The first day, I dropped 8 pounds.
Wow.
So I dropped about 8 pounds the first day, I believe. I think I woke up the next day at 148 pounds. So I had 8 pounds the Thursday morning. When I woke up, I was 148.4.5, about 8.5 pounds on Thursday. So Thursday, while doing I had 6, 7 doctor's appointments, EKGs, CAT scans. I had everything while cutting weight too. So in that Thursday, it wasn't as free as it seemed. I was sneaking in 10-minute naps in between doctor's appointments and stuff like that while cutting weight. The same morning of the weigh-ins, I woke up really early, and I just got done cutting weight the second time, 1 in the morning on the first day when they called me. And my second time ended about 1, almost 1 or 2 in the morning. Then I had doctor's appointment set for 8 o'clock in the a.m. the Thursday. So I also woke up early to get a cut before going to all those doctor's appointments because I knew. So less than 24 hours, I was already three big cuts into getting the weight off. After I finished all my doctor's appointments, the doctor's appointment, I looked at it as like, okay, this is all the rest you're gonna get. I saw the time ticking down. I thought I'll have more time throughout the day, but there was really time to cut one more time before it's weigh-in day. And I just hung in there, and I had a big cut at night. As I woke up on the weigh-in morning, I was about a pound, 2 pounds over, maybe a pound over. I did a little hot tub or whatever. I went there. I got on the scale. I realized I wasn't allowed the 1 pound allowance because it was catch weight. That was a new one for me.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going outside and pushing the extra pound off again. Lucky we bought our plastic and we bought our materials, our shoes, and we just, ran in the sun, got the last pound off, and got back on the scale. It was tough, but when you go through things like that, it makes the fight exactly how it went. Like, I had already sacrificed too much going into the fight that the beating that or whatever he put on me wasn't. I've been there before. It wasn't much to me. It was good punches. He was a good opponent. I think him being a good opponent makes it look a lot more than it was because the dangerousness he had. But when I was in there with him, man, I really think a full camp. I felt the power. I felt the attack. So if I get off a couple more attacks than I did, because the weight cut was proper, I'll hit him with a lot of big shots. So I see me being a tough fight for him anytime they match us up, as talented as he was.
Yeah.
I have a lot of split decision losses, and if you give those split decisions to me, then our record was about 1-1 because I have about 4 or 5 split decision losses. So
Yeah.
it was just like I told the people and I told my friends, it's 18 fights versus 18 fights. That's all I see it as. Once I got into the UFC, it was a fresh start. And the only thing that was killing me the most, I didn't want to get into the UFC and lose. So believe it or not, going in there on 2 days notice without a full camp, it's a lot of pressure on the fighter when he's so competitive. He
Yeah.
knows he's not at his full ability like I knew. So I had to give. I saw he had very good energy. He moved very quick. Even an in-shape Trevin, he might still move a little bit quicker, but I'll have other attacks and other things for him as a full camp. But he moved very well. So I knew on 2 days notice after cutting 17 pounds, I couldn't match everything he did. We
Right.
knew that already. So we wanted him to get tired. We knew if he threw a lot, he would get tired, and we knew we had the power to get good shots off, and it came in the second round. But as far as the beating that he gave me, it was only the push kick. The push kick was the only thing that was good. Other than that, everything that came after it, I took it, and I wasn't hurt from the other shots. I was only protecting where I got push kicked, and it was just a solid kick. I had a hard weight cut. The stomach wasn't as strong as it's supposed to be, and he had good kicks. I give him his credit, but as far as me quitting in that situation, I'll never quit in that situation because I felt he needed to jump on me.
Right.
As I went down against the cage, I felt he should have been more aggressive and jumped on me. And then at the end of the day, I had my grappling. I would have grappled in that situation. That's why I had the experience to know, okay, if I fall down here, I can recover my body to grapple.
Mhm.
So he didn't want to come into the grappling exchange there because I'm good in grappling. And he probably felt that was the best chances I had in the fight, not even a knockout. He's like, oh, maybe the grappling. So the fact that fighters have to go in there and they train for each other and they watch each other. If you're not confident in some part of the game, it's gonna take away from your game. And he needed to knock me out in that situation after landing a good body kick. He needed to jump on me and put punches in, but he stood away from the jiu-jitsu part and wanted to land punches from the outside and get the big knockout or a pretty knockout, maybe some walk-off knockout or something he was looking for. And then that's his bad part of his experience, because I know if I had him hurt with the body kick, I would have finished him, because I have good finishing like that. Like if I hurt you, I'm going to come after you. So as slow as the start it was, I knew if I got him hurt, that's when all my energy was going to come out.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. And as we know, like you got this opportunity because the UFC has had to call up a lot of fighters from outside the promotion, because of all the pullouts from these scheduled
Mm-hmm.
events. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously you were one of those people that got the call, but I'm wondering if this was the first time you have gotten that call from the UFC, as it seems like there were times that they could have used your services earlier. So was this the first time you had been contacted by the UFC, and what was that feeling like to ultimately get that call to compete in the world's leading promotion?
Well, I wouldn't say contacted. I've turned in my information. I've had Sean Shelby and him ask for my information. So when that happened, of course, my hopes was at its highest when he said, "Hey, let me see Trev Jones' last fight," and things like that. So already I'm riding high on good energy. As I got out here, I'm already riding on good energy. The only thing, I was training, I wasn't training at the full effect because I didn't want to be sore if a late call come. I'm happy just the Tuesday before I got the call, I said I wasn't gonna train hard just in case the call comes, so when my body can actually get through the weight cut. But on Tuesday, I went to Extreme Couture with one of my friends from Guam, and he's really talented too. And we had a war. We went to war on Tuesday. Then I got the call on Wednesday. So I would want my body to be a little. I told myself I don't want my body to be as sore if the call came. But yeah, man, it came early and earlier than I expected. I expected it to come, honestly. I was training, but I wasn't in eating 100% to make weight in 2 days. And when it comes to the weight cut, I don't care what any fighter say. If they have to cut weight the way I did, they cannot perform at their best because it's just not healthy. And the mind knows that it just went through something that wasn't healthy. So no matter how talented of a fighter is, you're gonna have to overcome when you cut weight like that. If I had more time or anything, of course, the weight would have been cut properly. I can move better. I can bounce better. My legs won't feel heavy. And so, yeah, it was the perfect time, man. I was always going to take any opportunity. Yes, he asked for my information. Yes, but I felt the UFC was always like right timing. Like it's never going to be when you want it or unless you're like an undefeated 15, 16-0 guy. Now you can call those shots. But ever since I came up short on these split decision losses fighting out in their hometowns where I know I won these fights, even dominated these fights. I knew it had to be not on my terms as much anymore, and I knew I had to be like I wouldn't say a company man for companies, but a company man to myself. I have to step up a lot more now because I'm not in that favorite side no more. But
Right.
I knew I had the skills because I never felt I lost any of those fights. So I took it as an advantage. Like, okay, when they see me, they're gonna see 6 losses, but are they doing good detail on those losses? Do they know 5 of those 6 are split decision? Do they know that I went to different countries to fight the guy and I dominated those fights? So that was things that people weren't really looking at when it came to the odds and everything. And of course, he was very talented. I agree with the people and I agree with the time that I had. But fighters always have a chance, and the odds should never be like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with 2 men that train and been training that made it to the UFC level. Once you get the call, you made it to UFC level, you've done something proven already. You did something exciting. You did something beautiful. So
Right.
I don't think the odds should ever be as far as it was, unless there's a little extra hype or anything behind it, which he did have.
Yeah,
And
a little bit of
good
hype.
team, good training, and I agree he was good. But I believe in myself. I believe in myself, and now they're gonna have a problem because I believe in myself even more now because that was tough. It was tough to make the weight. It was tough to get the call on 2 days' notice, and it's finally happening and take it all in a day and a half. It was really tough, and I got through it, man. I passed it, and I would say that's passed with flying colors because he got to get off punches. He got to do what
Yeah,
Timur does.
he got to throw
He
his
got
best
to
stuff.
he got to get off his game, and I weathered that. And as I watched the fight back once or twice, and I see that when he started getting off, I wasn't throwing back as much, and I see the punch count on his side go up, and it's like you guys can look at it like you want. Like he got off 40 punches to my 8 or 10, and then, but I landed 8 or 10 punches. He landed 40 punches. He went down off my punches. I never went down off his punches. So the fight game is very tricky. I feel as long as you fight, you have a chance. And after cutting all that weight and everything, I was gonna fight in there. I was gonna fight. The UFC and people are gonna learn to. I think they're gonna like me because all the time in there, I'm gonna fight. Like I gotta be put away, and that was the biggest factor that I had against Timur. Like he had all the offense, but I had the perfect defense to take his offense. And when I got him slowed down, just like we thought he would slow down, because he likes to fight very pretty, we knew the punches would add up. We knew people could take it away, but we knew that we were gonna come in the later rounds after he slowed down. Like me, my corners, we talked about it and we knew. So it happened like we planned. Of course, I wouldn't want to take the push kick to the stomach,
Right.
but it happened. He got a good shot. I'm proud of myself for overcoming that and staying in the fight. I sat on the cage. I remember clearly. I wanted him to come close to me, and I was gonna just grapple, hold on to him until I can get back up, and I felt safe. So I feel I stood on my feet, and he landed even more. So I feel I did great. I took the beating, and I overcame. And that's what fighters do. You're not in there to get hit with one punch and quit like people are doing, because they don't like to fight other talented guys like me. I'm okay to fight a guy that's considered better than me. Um, that's all the glory. That's everything I want. I want to beat someone that they think I can't beat. So at the end of the day, everything happened perfect, man. It was a good fight. It was a good 2 days, because now I feel like I don't want my next fight. Of course, I want a full camp, but I feel like as I got further down into the UFC and I got to the place I wanted to be, if they say, hey, Trev, we're gonna give you this shot on this time notice, but it's more time than that, at least I know I can push myself to the limit when the time comes to step up. And I did this time, and I'm just happy about it.
Yeah, no, that it was an incredible performance. And you mentioned something interesting that I want to follow up about when you said that anyone cutting weight the way you did is not going to be able to have their best performance in the cage. And
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of interesting because you did put on a very great performance, especially with the comeback in that second round. So I'm just wondering, in your eyes, how much better is your best than the version of you that we saw fighting Timur Valiev that night?
Well, I had 18 pro fights, and I think I only lost 2 first rounds in all my 18 pro fights. I think I only lost 2 first rounds ever. So if he got a 10-8 on me the first round, he could have just been that good. He could have, but I don't usually lose the first round. I'm very good the first round. There's a lot of other things I do to win the first round, especially when I'm going against a guy that's loose as him. And I cut the weight, and I couldn't implement the style because I knew I would get very tired, especially if he defended it well. So I laid back. I laid back and I laid back and I laid back and I waited for my shots. But I think a different fight with a full camp and my feet under me and my bounce under me. Yeah, I can do some things to him because the takedown came easy. When I put him against the cage, yeah, he had the head turn, but I wasn't putting pressure there anymore. I allowed him to escape. With my regular strong style, I felt I can keep him there long and I can land damage. Whether the ref's gonna break me off after 30 seconds, I can eat his thighs up with knees, and I can throw elbows against the cage very well. So those were things I didn't want to implement because it took energy to control those situations. Um, Even though I'm winning those situations, I'm still getting tired, and I didn't have the proper cardio and weight cut to sustain that kind of energy. So I laid back and I picked the shots that I could take because
Right.
he had such good energy and good movement. So my regular style can definitely do a lot more in there. But I think we saw that he didn't really like to get hit. When you fight that good, you're good at hitting and not getting hit. That's what you do. So I think anytime he brawled with me, he was always going to be in trouble with the strike to strike.
Right.
in deep waters, yeah, I think I got more power, and that was the right hand, and the left hand is also dangerous too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he has to win a fight by being very smart and good, like he really is. But anytime it becomes a dogfight, I think I win that all the time.
Yeah, and the dogfight slang where you exceed. Now, obviously, with this fight being short notice, you and your team didn't have enough time to really develop a full game plan for your opponent. But you've already
Mm-hmm.
mentioned previously that you already did find some holes in his game that you were able to exploit, namely with you
Mm-hmm.
and your team finding the cardio and letting him gas himself out after the first
Mm-hmm.
round. So I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, is there anything else besides that cardio that you and your team found within the short window about your opponent, Timur Valiev, that you were able to exploit in order to get the win?
Yes, that he was gonna kick a lot and to land the check hook when he kicks. That was the first thing I saw. Oh, I saw his left hand didn't come back up, and he kicked a lot. So a lot of kicks means a lot of free shots that I can get. We didn't want him to get off free kicks. He got off a lot of free kicks in the first round, and we were mad about that. Like my cornerman's telling me, like, why are you giving him free kicks? Why are you giving him free kicks? But of course, I didn't have the energy to get off as much counters as I wanted to. Once again, but I still had the guns loaded. And once we got his energy down, he kicked a lot. I think the hook could have came earlier, but I think we got into a little exchange somewhere around the first round when before he got the push kick to my stomach. It was we're both fighting at that time. It wasn't a one-sided fight yet, and I think I landed a good right hook and some punches, and I think he felt the power, and then he became really smart of a fighter. He really kicked and got out of there quick and stuff like that. But after he blew the energy in, trying to finish me, and I was coming into the after he blew the energy and was trying to finish me, and I was coming into the next round, we knew he was tired. We knew now the energy's matched up because I didn't do so much and he did so much. So now he was where we wanted him to be.
Right.
And then he came out good. I put him against the cage. He threw the knee. The knee didn't really do anything. Nothing really did anything that he did the second round. Of course, he had some nice kicks. But there was one point where I looked at him and I saw this guy's not moving forward no more. Now he's not going to move forward. Then I threw the jab out there, and I threw the jab just out there, and he backed up like so far away from me. And I said, oh, it's your turn now. Now it's your turn. And that was exactly what I told myself. Now it's your turn. And then I just faked the low kick, threw the right hook, and it just landed on the button. And anytime I hurt, all my knockout finishes are exactly like that. Once I hurt them and dropped them, they all got finished like exactly on the spot like that. So you don't really want
Right.
to get dropped by me because I'm going to be aggressive because I know you're hurt. So yeah, and people say I read some comments and stuff, and I read some guys say it was luck or the right hand was luck. But
Mhm.
if you're gonna say the right hand was luck, was the ground and pound luck? Because when I landed the right hook, he still grabbed my head correctly and tried to control me correctly with the hammer fist. The hammer fist, repeated hammer fist, followed him up. And they say he was still in it, but I saw him go out 2 times. I saw me wake him up 2 times. I woke him up. So there's gonna be the people that say he was out, and there's gonna be the people that say the ref did a bad job, but the ref did a good job. I looked at him, and there was one moment where I almost stopped punching because I saw he was out. It looked like his neck was bent against his shoulder at one point, and he was completely out. Like his hands are not up coming towards me; they're on the mat backwards, and he's getting punched in the face. Like that's clearly not awake.
Yeah.
And I think when the ref actually stopped it, it kind of looks like he was getting up because I stopped punching and put my hands up and let him come up against me. Um, I have really good jiu-jitsu. I had moves coming up. If he was gonna come up with his hands up, there was gonna be guillotines. There was gonna be other good finishes I have. So I really think he wasn't gonna survive that. And if he did, we're going to the third round, 10-8, 10-8, 2 10-8 rounds. The winner of the third round wins the fight.
Yeah.
Um, I would have already been with the advantage going into the third round.
Yeah.
Consider the shot that he took. Consider how wobbly he was after.
Yeah.
If he would have survived the rest of the second, because it was early on. But I think if we made it to the third, it's 10-8, 10-8. I'm cool with that. And then we see who win the last third round. And I don't think his legs would have been under him the same. He would have had to handle my pressure and the big shots after that.
Yeah, no,
So yeah.
I agree with that. And one thing that was kind of odd is you are kind of an active fighter. You do fight a decent amount, but this fight with Valiev was your first fight in about a year. And
Hmm.
since May of 2019 was your last bout before this. So, what was the
Hmm.
reason behind your long layoff? And uh, are you planning on taking a shorter turnaround in between this fight and your next UFC outing?
I want to fight in December, to be particular. If I can pick it, I want to fight December so I can go home. By the time I get back home to Guam, I have a 14-day quarantine, which is going to be no training at all
Right.
inside a hotel. So, you know, me taking this short notice fight, I wouldn't want to take another short notice fight after going to no training. And,
Yeah.
I don't need to prove that again. I don't need to prove that again. So the right timing with me going to settle everything and coming back out here and getting ready to train. I think fair early December, I'll be ready to go. That's
Right.
about 3 months from now.
Yeah.
That's very fair, I think. Yeah, it was just I couldn't get fights. I had 6, 7 fights lined up, and when COVID came, it got even worse for me. But yeah, I had a fight set in Russia. I had another fight set. Everything was just falling off. I had many fights set, and managers weren't taking the fights. Opponents was pulling out. I had got ready for 6 or 7 fights in between um that year and a half and year and 4 months or whatever, and everything was falling off. Like it was just like wow. But it all paid off now. So I'm happy I stayed active. And I've only been full-time MMA for a year, and in that time that I couldn't find a fight, that's
Wow.
the time I became full-time MMA.
Really?
Before that, I was still doing jiu-jitsu. So anytime I didn't have a fight, I was trying to earn my black belt. So I'll train gi all the time. And then when they call me to fight, I'll go into MMA. So I was in my 9 years of training, I got a black belt and I got a world champion in MMA, and now I'm in the UFC. So it's really like I've been doing each of those for 4.5 years only, because it takes time to get a black belt. So
Yeah.
that's something that I was doing on the side. And for the last year, I've been full-time MMA now. So I know for a fact that that's going to make a turnaround in my game that people haven't seen. Just the composure, just the more looks, more partners, and just staying in it. You're always going to grow. So that's a big factor that people are going to see in my game, because I wasn't full-time MMA the whole time. I was doing jiu-jitsu gi all the time, IBJJF tournaments, um, just jiu-jitsu. I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu. I like jiu-jitsu. And yeah, now I'm full-time MMA for that span, 1 year, 4 months that I couldn't find a fight. I was doing MMA consistent every day. MMA, no more gi. Put the gi to the side. And yeah, I feel I leveled up a lot. The only reason I couldn't show it as much, like I say, was because of the weight cut. My legs were very flat, very heavy. I had no bounce. Like I can feel it going out. They were just heavy, and I understand why they were heavy, because you
Yeah.
just lost 16, 17 pounds, Trevor. So it was all understandable, and I accepted it. I accepted the outcome that might happen on a late notice. I accepted how good he was, and I accepted that you're good too, and you have a chance to beat this guy. And so everything was just accepted, and then I took it like, you're good, you're good, you're good. Everything, this is the way it's gonna be, and you can't change it. So don't try and what if or what if that. Go through it. And
Right.
that was the mentality. Just go through it. Don't try and change anything. Go through it. And it was just about weight cut, making the appointments, running through everything. And my friends, my team, man, they did a good job, man, filling out the paperwork in 2 days while I'm cutting weight. I couldn't do all this, man. It was a team job. It was for sure a team job. One man couldn't do this. I needed people, and I had them at the right place at the right time, and everything paid off. It really did.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to pay off, and you seemed to have the right team around you as they all helped you get to the situation where you're in now. Now, you mentioned that you want to fight in December, and
Hmm.
I was planning to ask this later on, but now that you have a pretty big win over a guy that not many people wanted to fight, and someone who a lot of people hold in high regard, I feel like you can have a lot of say on who you want to fight next. So, is there
Hmm.
a name? Is there a name out there that you want to fight next?
Well, this is how it goes for me now. Like, I wasn't that undefeated guy that we talked about earlier that had his chance to call his shots.
Yeah,
But my
yeah.
opponent that I just fought he was pretty much that kind of guy.
Mhm.
Not call his shots, but him would win over me. Then another big win. he was pretty much there at a very high level spot. I would say 18-2. He was in a good spot. So, and like you said, he's a very good opponent, which means he can be better than my next 2 opponents, my next 3 opponents. He can still be better, and I know this. So I've never been the kind of guy to say it's about money or anything now, but I think it has to be fair. Like, if you want to throw me higher level people than he was, then I would love to renegotiate my contract and I can fight the higher level people right away. But if I want to be and get to the title run like I plan on doing and my team believes I can do, then I want to, and you guys want to keep me on the same contract that I signed, then I want to fight regular guys
Right.
that's on the regular contract too. And I want to get my experience points for the better guys, because no matter what, I consider myself here to stay now, and it don't really matter. I'm going to end up fighting all the guys, all the good guys. I can only assume, because I expect a lot of myself. So if they want to if they want to, do what I see some guys do, kind of, get built up correctly. If we can get built up correctly, I'll take it. But if we want to go straight to the hard fights or whatever, like he was, then I would like a new contract, and then we can do that too. And I'll just prepare extreme. I always prepare hard, but with the camp, I'm a different fighter. When I'm very strategical and I'm very good at studying my opponents just on my own, even without coaches. Like, my coaches are, what they say is very good too, but when I see them fight, I'm very good at finding the openings or seeing something they're exactly not good at, because I have time in there. I have split decisions, losses after split decision loss. So those meant I scrambled a bit. Those meant we punched each other in the face a bit. Those being like, there's situations that I can notice now after going through that. So yeah, man, I think I'll be a tough fight for really anyone in there, because I don't think they know how really talented I am everywhere. Like, I can fight everywhere. Like, probably the last thing he expected from me was to get knocked out, but that's just how, decent I am everywhere.
Yeah, and for sure. But let's go back to that first round there. And in that first round, a lot of people seem to think that you were in trouble because, it seemed to be close to a finishing sequence, but you said that you were really only hurt from the push kick. So I know you're thinking that, but I bet in that mind, you're also thinking, I hope this fight doesn't get stopped, because you don't know that the referee doesn't know that you're actually fine and intelligently defending. So
yeah.
In your mind, during that flurry, when you're trying to survive at the end of that first round, how worried were you that the referee would step in and stop the fight? And if it was, how would you react?
Well, I could see the ref getting closer when he turned up. I could see the ref getting closer every time. So I used that to do whatever I can even more. So as he was getting closer to me and I saw the ref, like, the ref's never that close. So when you see the ref that close, it might get stopped. So at those points, I'll try and wrist control him and get a hold of him. Like I said, I would have shot takedowns. I would have clinched him real good if he hurt me right away with the body kick. But that would have still led to the game plan I didn't want to fight. That would have still led to me wrestling him earlier and getting tired, and me using the energy that I really didn't have after the weight cut. So I still have to be like what they like. Like I heard Demetrius Johnson say, when he boxes with the boxers. So that teaches him how to, even though he get caught with a good punch, that teaches him how not to shoot right away. Right. You can stay in there, and that's all it was. It was a good punch, a good kick. And I stayed in there. Yes, it got kind of close because there was nothing coming back out of me. But the ref was, of course, they watch your eyes. They watch what everyone can't see. They watch your eyes. They watch your face. And my eyes and my face was always in it. I was always determined. Like, I was in that fight. Like, him landing everything, I can remember everything so clear. One thing I was watching out for is when I was getting low blocking my body, I didn't want him to land the knee up the middle. That was the only thing I was watching out for, because I knew I was staying low. But he didn't have that one punch power to finish. That's what he didn't have. I noticed that he had good kicks, he had everything, but he didn't have one punch power.
Right. Now, let's say that fight does get stopped in some alternate universe that's obviously not the one that we're living in now. So if that fight gets stopped, do you protest it? Because to the outside audience, it looked like anyone could finish, and it looked like that fight could have been stopped. But as you know, and the ref probably knew, that you were completely fine. But if that fight were to get stopped, would you say, like, I was fine and protest the stoppage?
It's kind of crazy because I was obviously. So if I will say that, I'll get this. It'll be the opposite. I'll get the same thing. Um, I'll get the same thing that the ref's getting. Like he could have survived, or I'll get it'll be the opposite though. I'll say I was okay, then I'll get the people that saying maybe I was okay, and I'll get the people saying maybe I'm not. So that's really it would have just been a bummer for me. I would have been upset. But yeah, I would have never been too mad about it because like I would have been mad because I hate to lose, but I'm saying like I'll be more mad at myself because I let it go that far. I'll be
Right.
mad at myself that I let him land something like that and didn't defend myself properly. But I felt like I was defending myself properly as I could because it was a good kick. Like, and the ref saw that I was defending myself the best way I could, and he let it continue. The crowd can say what they want, but they weren't in there. And now that the fight ended the way it did, then at the end of the day, they were all wrong. All the ones that said it should have been stopped. How can you say it should have been stopped when he got knocked out in the next round?
Exactly.
Which means the fighter was okay. So the ref was excellent that night. It wasn't a regular average.
Yes.
He was excellent.
Yes, he
That's
was.
what people are not seeing. They're not seeing that he was actually excellent. That's what the UFC want to see. They want to see people. They don't want to see guys get hit with one shot and they're out of there. Yes, it's beauty to see and it's glory to the one guy, but they love to see the barn burners. They love to see guys take damage and keep fighting because it's the fight game. So a lot of those people are thinking like fighters got to go out there, and fighters are thinking they have to go out there and smoke the guy all the time. I don't think like that. I'm okay to beat you by a little bit and keep grinding you out. I'm okay to stay on you. I'm okay for you to land things, and we're gonna keep fighting because it's the fight game. At the end of the day, we want perfect fights, but other guys are good. It's the UFC level, and they when I see them talk about each other and say the things some of them say, it's like, man, come on.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys are really skilled, but this is another UFC fighter you're talking to. So at the end of the day, this better just be for the camera, and the training and everything better be put in. So I see it like that. Like, you know, um, you just gotta go out there and fight, man. Fights are not supposed to be pretty. They're not
No.
supposed to be um you're not supposed to be perfect. You're not supposed to go out there and just choke the guy out or knock him out. It's a fight. You have to take licks too. That's what we train for. That's why we do rounds on rounds on rounds. And so all those people that saying, "Oh, he was out of there," or whatever, they would have been out of there.
Yeah.
When they're training, they all would have been out of there because that's how they train. That's
Hmm.
their mentality. One good shot, quit, don't continue. I don't want to train no more. But me and my team, we have really good hard trainings, and I've had hard trainings in the past to prepare me for moments where you get hit with big shots and you have to protect yourself. Any fighter should know when we train, you can get your ass whooped the first round, and that don't mean the second round and third round, fourth round and fifth round is over in your camp. You're still doing those 4 rounds,
Yeah.
maybe with new guys too. So the fight goes on, and that's what training's for. The fight goes on, and I'm happy the ref let it go on. And you know, and on the other hand, they're gonna say, "Oh, you let." I see them say, "Oh, you let him go, but you didn't give him the same chance." The difference was my own was a body shot. My head was fully conscious. I was
Hmm.
fully alert, trying to grip. And yes, he's getting off shots, but they're not fight finishing shots. The refs saw that too. Like they weren't powerful blows and they weren't hitting the money or the spots that he wanted it to hit. My own was head trauma. Like your head got rung, you got pounded on in your head. When your body's trying to fight back, it's in fight or flight mode by then. You're not fully conscious of everything that's going on. You just remember that you were in a fight and you're like, the body's still doing what the body was doing. But that's head damage versus body damage. If my body was hurting and I wanted to quit, I would have laid down there and let him punch me some more and took the easy way out and quit.
Yeah.
And that's the way a body shot would look if they land a good body shot and the guy wants to quit. But when it's a headshot, that's when the ref really comes in to protect him because he no longer can protect himself. And yeah, it was a good call on the ref because he wasn't gonna come back after shots like that. That was just too much open shots.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. And throughout most of the more knowledgeable MMA circles, they all seem to agree and echo the sentiment in which you just told me, which is, the stoppage was good and the fight should not have been stopped when you were getting attacked in that first round. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to go look a little bit before the fight was happening. So leading into this fight, you were the underdog and a kind of big one. which is something which I know that motivates many, many fighters. So
Hmm.
you were such a heavy underdog, a motivating factor that helped you get that win. And how does it feel to win when a lot of people didn't really expect you to?
Well, it was the UFC, and I'm from Guam. I everyone that have trained with me, they know how good I am. But people out here in the States or people out here anywhere, they've trained with more people, so they have more people backing him up. The guy had the whole Russia behind him. He had the whole hype of training with Frankie and all these guys behind him. So
Zabit,
more
yeah.
bigger names and more people are seeing him and saying him. They haven't seen me. Oh, now they see me.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's all it was. It's just him knowing more people, him being around the right people, him having the people that he have around him, and him getting promoted properly. That's all that was going into the fight. As far as fight versus fight, it was always a fight versus fight. The only disadvantage I had was that I had to cut the weight so fast and get down. And it was a disadvantage. It really was and it was an advantage for him. But that was the only advantage I saw. I saw me in the full camp. I saw he couldn't match my hand power as good as people want to say he is, and as good as he is. I know he's good, but him kicking that much and me on a good camp, me throwing my hands like I should, yeah, my hands will catch him a lot more than that, like a lot more. Um,
Right.
him kicking as much, I would have caught kicks. I would have took him down off catching kicks. You know, a lot of it would have been a whole different fight. And I feel he still would have did good. It would have been a nice fight. He's professional, but I feel somewhere down the second round, which is my favorite round to finish guys,
Right.
because I know what the second round does to a fighter. So I felt somewhere around the second or third, I was just more tougher than him. I was tougher than him. He's used to beating people up too much. That's why.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, that's all the questions I have for today. I really would like to thank you for joining me. Is there
No
anything you would like
problem.
to
No
say to the
problem.
people out there?
I just want to shout out to everybody that believed in me on Guam, Upgrade Management, the boys back home, B2BJJ, Spike 22, Zenith, Robert Drysdale, Marcelo Nunes, Drew Palomo, Kyle Regis, Ty Jones, everybody that ever supported me, Guam Muay Thai, Coach Kev. Um, yeah, man, I'm just happy and grateful to get through this moment. I know it's not the end. I know there could be days where the glory is not as great. So I'm just blessed to get a fresh start. UFC to me is now a fresh start. I can put all my bittering and all my decisions that I cried about on the fights that I won. I can now put that behind me and start off fresh as a whole new fighter looking to beat the best in the world. And when I do get those wins, no one will have anything to take away from me, because these guys are the best fighters in the world, and I'm happy that I get to show my game on this stage. And to everyone that believed in me, thank you for keep pushing me, and I can't wait to get it again.
Again, I would like to thank Trevin Five-Star Jones for joining me today, and I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching this interview. I've been Zach
Yes,
Harkness with
yes.
MMA Island, and I will see you all in the next one.